We are live. Thank you, Mrs. DeBra. We'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. I want to welcome all of you in the audience. And Mrs. Rico will lead us in the pledge. We are live. Thank you, Mrs. DeBra. We'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. I want to welcome all of you in the audience. Mrs. Rico will lead us in the pledge.
One nation under God, indivisible. Needs to be a mute button on that TV.
The floor is open for a motion to approve the agenda with one change of moving item 2.4 down to information and discussion items. And we're going to move 4.2 to the first action item. Madam Chair, so moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. Mrs. DeGraw, is there any public comment? No, ma'am. Okay. The floor would be open for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passed. Okay. We are going to jump right to our transportation plan.
Madam Chair, I'd like to welcome our new transportation director, Nyla Hicks. Nyla, thank you for being here. So this is Nyla's first time on this, and so what she has is she did give to each of the board members a hard copy of the transportation plan. And what this action item is that we'll look at is the transportation plan needs to be renewed annually by the board. And so we do have the board stuff attached. I did not get the bus ride stuff attached to it, but you can still talk on that as well too. So Nyla, you can see up there on the screen that we do have that there. So you can just, as you talk about it, I'll scroll through and let you explain what you have here.
Okay. Never been here before and you really realize I'd be explaining very much. We just changed the names of the program, as some of the names have changed around, as I'm the supervisor and Ben's the trainer. Our goal is to transport students to and from school and our school sponsored functions safely and efficiently. And to hire and retain those qualified drivers to transport our children. I have to say that I've talked to other school districts and we have nothing to complain about because we have such a good group of drivers. We purchase best equipment for the jobs as economically as possible. We organize routes to be as efficient as possible. We organize routes to have similar student counts. And we organize routes to have similar AM pickup times for first riders on bus when possible. And there's a list of all our buses. What's different from last year is we have bus 23 on this list. And we are going to be surplusing 3, 7, and possibly 8 for reasons that they're not running, broke down. They're no longer good for us to use. The M5 Panther bus.
Got a question here.
Oh, I'm sorry, which ones did you say? You were
3, 7, and 08.
It's on the very bottom of the page.
You can see that right there. Okay. Thank you.
Our MCI bus says now running great and finished off the year in good shape, which it did. It's in right now. Air conditioning went down and it's in right now getting air conditioning in because you can't open the windows when you drive it. And airbags for the shocks are getting replaced and it should be finished next week. The one bus is still over there. It's used for the track timing equipment, which they've done that for several years now. Let's see, I didn't change some things on there. I thought I did. And where it says the new bus ordered in January 23 should be delivered by October 23.
That's the 23 bus that you're talking
That's the
about.
one I've got.
So that's the one we can cross that line out.
You can cross that line out.
I've done that before too, many times here.
You know, might come in the middle of me doing this and help me some other reason. So you can cross that one out, we'll be good.
But we will be, like, the board approved last month that we can start the process to look for one, so we probably will be able to look for an 04 or 05
25.
or 25. Man, I went back 20 years. I'm not gonna go back in time, sorry.
Anyway, oh, the routing software that's the bus rate system. That has been. Parents have had a lot of good comments because they can go online and track where the bus is, so they can see exactly when it's gonna be to their house, they can see where it is. And when they're getting there and when their kids are gonna get home. It's got a lot of good features on it as far as, just being able to tell where we're at, and, you know, you can track our speed and all kinds of things on it. It's just a really good program. And they even talk like, well, we can set it up even for like trips, when we go on trips, like parents can go online and see like when the bus is in Chalice and when their kid, they need to pick their kids up here at school, we can set it up so that they can track that, so they can know when to come.
And that's something where last year, Bus Right sent out through Power School an email to the parents to sign up for it, and I'm sure this year we can probably resend that out again when we get that route going. And so that's something that I'm looking forward to seeing that on the extracurricular ones as well. One of the things when Mrs. Hicks and I were talking, she said that it also like will track how long you stop at a stop. Cause sometimes we have situations where bus drivers will stop and parents will call and say, wait a minute, you left like after 2 seconds. It can actually monitor how long the stop was and other things like that. So it's a great tool for the administrative side, but also for the parent side, because parents could look at that and say, kids, the bus is gonna be here like in the next 30 seconds because it's coming down the road. It's a really cool app.
How long does it have to wait?
How long do you have the bus wait?
at a stop. I will wait a good 20 seconds if I don't see anything, any activity or anything. I will pull away. But I think on the Bus Right app, I don't think it registers a stop until it's been stopped for about 8 seconds, but then it'll tell you exactly how long you were at this house and how long you waited, so the parents can't, you know, they can't say that we didn't stop.
It's probably depending on where you're at. If somebody comes out and says, wait for me for a second,
Yes.
you probably will wait longer.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
if you're on the highway, it's also kind of hard too.
You know, I'll wait 20 to 30 seconds, but if you see the door open or something, of course we wait. We see the door open and they start coming, we wait.
Yeah.
But if we don't see any, and a lot of times too, when you get those houses, you have these kids that ride some weekdays and some days they don't, so you usually kind of know that it doesn't look like they're coming that day. But, there's a list of our drivers, they're all pretty much the same as last year. I did swap 2 drivers around because of the area where they were picking up kids, so it just worked better for their locations and where they live versus their routes. Let's see, JR started last November, which was a new one from the previous year, and took over for Dean Erickson so it could relieve him so he could get to his other chores. We do have some places where we have to back up and turn around. We're not supposed to if we don't have to. But where we live so rural, there are places where we don't have a choice, and those are listed there. In the past, we've had no problems, and they're almost all on back roads where the traffic is very, very low and there's very little risk. Oh, yes. And we do have somebody that is going to be starting to drive new. Tom Mackey got his CDL. And so he's going to be able to take some trips. He's in the process right now of finishing up his training.
Also help with field trips and things like
Field
that.
trips
Yeah.
and activity trips and things like that. Since we sometimes have a shortage of people to take these trips. Safety busing, that is where anybody that lives within 1.5 miles of the school, if it's unsafe for them to walk, like we don't have sidewalks or high traffic areas, things like that, the buses pick them up. I know in town, they have to walk because they have sidewalks and stuff, but out here, we pick them up within a mile and a half of the school because it's just not safe for them to walk.
So we don't have any places where kids walk.
The only one I've ever seen is where they cross the road right over here. But yeah, the rest of them we pick up. Some of them walk from the trailer court down here, right by the
Bus.
dentist office. Some will walk there, but we do have a bus that stops there also, because if they're really small
That's
kids.
There's just not a sidewalk anywhere, so I don't see why anybody would want.
No.
Yeah, so we
The
do
one
offer.
that crosses over here is with their parent every day.
Oh, every morning. Yeah, I see them with the parent every morning. But yeah, the bus stops there, so that's an option that they can absolutely get on there and ride if they choose to walk, that's their choice. But the bus does stop there.
Okay.
So that's all the different areas on that. Does the board have any other questions for Nyla? Nyla, thank
So-
you. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
So with your route and your job, are you finding that everything is going well with that? I mean, you have the time to do everything.
Yes, I believe so. Right now, of course, I've had some, responsibility jitters, new responsibility jitters, but yes, just learning things and yeah, it's working.
Right, well, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the West Jefferson Transportation Plan
For the 24,
for the
25.
24-25 school year.
Madam Chair, someone,
Is there a second?
I second that.
Those in favor? Any opposed?
No.
That motion passes, thank you.
Mrs. DeGron, you can make a note that I can go back into board docs.
That
and
action item.
I actually have a different one. I just loaded the wrong one up.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
All right, we'll go back to 4.1, purchases, spending and surplus approval.
Madam Chair, we did not have any items, so that one could be crossed off.
Okay, we'll move to 4.3, supplemental levy renewal, November
Sure.
24.
All right, we've been in contact with our financial and also legal counsel when it comes to the supplemental levy renewal. And so the action item that we will be discussing is, and we'll discuss this in detail. I'll pull up the other things. But West Jefferson School District proposes to renew its current supplemental levy. And also the plant facility. So there'll be two different action items that we'll be looking at, but a lot of this information will come together. And so the supplemental levy is a 2-year levy. It was first passed in 2012. And the $360,000 that we levy for this offers competitive salaries and benefits for the employees. This resolution is not the board voting that it passes, but the board is basically saying we will submit this document to Jefferson County and then be voted on in the November election. And so some of the things that I just wanted to talk about. This is the actual resolution that will be written, or that is written up for the supplemental levy. And it just has all the legal language that will go to Jefferson County, and this is the resolution that we're voting on. The main things that we vote on is that it's gonna be for a 2-year and for $360,000. This document here that I put together has information for both the plant and the supplemental levies, and so it's kind of combined together, but I'll be able to talk on both of them. The tax impact is the area that individuals are saying, well, what will the tax impact be? So as per Idaho code, there are some requirements that need to be connected to every single thing that we talk about and publish with levies. And so the second one here is the notice of the supplemental levy. This is the legal information that is required in that code. And it just says that for the amount that's going to be levied for, what the election is. The question also has the estimated tax increase. And with this language, it's going to be $109.13 per 100,000. And the value is not expected. So it proposed with that one there. and it will expire June 30th, 2025. And so then because it's a 2-year, need to be, oh, it replaces the one that expires in 2025. Whew, yeah, I was gonna say that, I just read that one wrong. So the tax impact, and so I put together the chart that shows all of it. And so we're talking about the supplemental levy, and it was $109, and I took off the cents, the 13 cents on that, just to have the rounded numbers. So this is the projected amount that the supplemental levy will have. One thing that's into play that's different this year is there's an estimated House Bill 292 offset. The language here that's required is not allowed for Idaho code. And so, but when we're talking about it in an educational format to say this is really what it will look like for the district, there's an offset of minus 64 and also a property tax replacement of minus 24. So the total that we're anticipating would be around 259, even with the passage of $109 on the supplemental levy. When you look at the historical amount from last year, the levy amount was a little bit higher than what it was projected now. That's partly because of property taxes increase, and then the levy rate goes down. And the total there for 316. Carrie, do you have a question?
We had a reduction on the taxes this last.
And I
year
just
as well.
didn't have that
Okay,
available.
I just wanted to make sure that that was noted, that it's not dropping from the 316 to the 259, because we were lower this year.
So it still would have been there, but the reduction the actual payment would have been less
Yes, correct.
than from before. On that, so that's gonna be the hardest part where from 2016 on up, we didn't have any of the different House bill reductions or anything like that, so it was pretty consistent. But you can see over the time of the history of at least the last 10 years, having an amount of 259 is the second lowest in the last 10 years that the district would have. And so that's really the biggest part about the supplemental levy. Again, the questions the history of the plant and supplemental levies. And I have that here for the supplemental levy. It started in 2012. These are the percentage of votes in favor for each of those years. That's been, the community's been really great to support us.
What does that one require?
This one requires a 50% plus one. Yep, 50% plus one on that one. And the plant, again, the supplemental levy we use for salaries and benefits to attract and retain our teachers. And also, it's not just our teachers that get that, is we have increased our hourly pay. And over the last couple of years, our bus driver pay has gone up. If you look at any other 2A school district here in the region, we're probably the most competitive 2A school when it comes to that, and that's because of our supplemental levy. So that just circles back to the resolution, and I can answer any questions or if you guys have any comments. So my recommendation as superintendent is that we do run our supplemental levy this November. If it passes, then it will be ready to go for the next one. If it doesn't, the board will have an opportunity to choose if we want to run it one more time in May.
So you advertise this to the community prior to the election?
Yes. Yeah, we would advertise. This type of information would have to advertise. We do have to have this language in all of our advertising stuff. So it's gonna be on our website. We can send out a mailer that has this in it. The postcard type things, as long as they have that information.
And all of our flyers will run by our legal counsel with this
Before we send it out.
before we send it out, to ensure that we're following all the laws. Alright.
But for the board, and that's one thing that I've learned over the years, once the board votes on this as superintendent, even though it's my recommendation that we run for this, is because I feel that it would be detrimental to our district if we don't have it, but I think that's the board decision to decide to vote on that. But if the board does decide to accept these resolutions and we submit them to Jefferson County, then my role would be to just educate people about when the election is, what it is, the basics. But the board members, you guys have your freedom and your right to advocate for this in any way that you want to. And so I think one of the most difficult things for people to probably understand, because it's even difficult for us to try to get exact numbers, are the estimated House bill offsets and how that really impacts. So really what it would be is we're not asking to increase our supplemental levy, we just want to renew it.
Mhm.
And because of that, with the offset, it's actually gonna be less than it's been in the last 10 years. So.
Okay. Well, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the supplemental levy resolution for the amount of $360,000 for an election to be held on November 5th, 2024.
Madam Chair, I so move.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the plant facility levy renewal that we touched on a little bit.
So very similar with this, with just the switch that we're gonna be talking about the plant now. I will talk more on the plant facilities because we haven't ran this one since 2015 or 14 was the last year that it was ran. And so this one here. Plant facility funds are different in the fact that we can use them for maintenance around the district. And one of the reasons as superintendent, I feel that this plant facility is important. Is we are gonna be asking for a 10-year plan, just like we've done historically in West Jefferson. The plant facility helps with the operation of custodial maintenance, but also does allow us to purchase the school buses. And so this is the fund that we are able to purchase a school bus every year or every other year on how we've done it. But one thing that's important to note, but I don't want to go into like all of the details. But the recent changes with House Bill 521, which has had some good things for schools, but also some changes. So the House Bill 521 is an infrastructure bill that provides funding for the schools. And so we will be receiving some of those funds. However, those can only be used for capital projects. But as part of the legislation, they took the discretionary funds. So discretionary funds that were previously used for custodial and maintenance departments were shuffled over to the 521 and put different restrictions on it. And so in my mind, it's really imperative that this one continue for us to be able to figure out how to maintain our custodial departments, our maintenance department, and also our transportation departments as well. And so, again, looking at the overall, the plant facility would be $91 per 100,000 of taxable property tax value. Which is lower than what it has been in years past, but again, with the offsets, it's going to be done at that level. The history of the plant facilities, as Mrs. DeGraw and I, we were looking at some of the old, we're trying to dig into a lot of the old board meetings and different things, and of course, they didn't have YouTube, we could go back and watch the videos then, but from what we could find, the district ran a plant facility election in 1994 for $80,000. And then it was increased in 2004 is what we were gathering on that one. But then in 2014 was the last one. We're also.
So to determine those amounts, we looked in the budget report
Yeah,
as to what they budgeted for. And so that was our guess as to what they ran up for. We could not find an exact number somewhere.
yeah,
And so we utilized that because that's how we budget for those items. is we put
we found in the agendas that they actually had action items to vote for the resolutions, but it didn't have the information in there.
So I think people are gonna be most inquisitive about this one because they've probably forgotten they're even paying for it. They probably.
right,
didn't
because
realize
they've been
what-
paying for it since '94.
Right. But they're thinking, well, you've got this new money, and they're thinking, why do you need this? And the explanation is here, but they're gonna have to be educated on that, or they don't know what they're doing. They won't know
Yeah.
what this is all about.
I've had some parents reach out to me asking for all of this information. I think they're interested in helping get information out, and so that will be helpful.
Cause it's one of the things that as a district, we're grateful for all these things. These are the things that help us do it. And that's one of the reasons why our facilities are as in good a shape as what they are. And it's because since 1994, the patrons have been helping out with this. But you're absolutely right with, I can't remember the exact numbers, but I was running that like based off of inflation. There's been a big change in inflation since 2014, and I'm asking for the same amount. And that's on purpose, because there's part of me that thought, well, should I try to adjust this for inflation? But no, because I know we are getting that other money. And so I'm wanting to make sure that I'm only asking for the things that we need to continue to operate on and not try to do more.
That'd be a good idea.
And so I did think through that.
What percentage does this one have to have?
This one has to have a 55% in favor. And so again, it's just trying to get the information out. And it would be for, if passed, it would go on for 10 years. And that's one of the things, one of the reasons why, when you look at from 94 to 2024, that really has helped the district continue with remodels and everything else.
Some clever flyer saying this money is needed to continue to maintain our school buildings, which this other money does not do, or something that catches their eye, so they know that this is this.
Tricky part is if we're sending out as a district, it can't look like we are promoting a yes vote. And unfortunately, some of the language, even though to me, my interpretation would be it's an actual fact, is viewed as promotional language.
See, you can't move it.
Mhm.
Can the board?
Yes. Board can, but the district cannot.
So your purpose is simply to educate.
It's to simply, I can answer the questions. But if there's a meeting held at the school district, I can provide the facts on it. But it's interesting if I was saying, wow, we've got a lot of cracks or something, or we need to replace sidewalks, which, you look around, that's probably some things that we need to continue on. Somebody will say, well, that's your opinion that needs to be replaced. And so you're promoting it.
Yeah, we'll just take a
Even-
walk over. to
Like
the high
for,
school.
like for something, like going back to the supplemental levies, I've heard that from some of the language where people say overcrowded classrooms. Or we would have to, like they say, we'll have to change the schedules if we don't get the supplemental levy to maybe have a morning schedule and a PM schedule. Those have been viewed as, oh, you're trying to put scare tactics into people to tell them that you have to vote, when really you don't know that's what it really is. And so that's the legal hoops we have to go through. But as a district, we educate, this is what it is. My recommendation is it's crucial to the board with that, but those are good questions, but you're right. The difference between the 300,000, we're not asking for more, we're just asking to renew, just let us keep doing what we're doing. With
Maybe that's a good way to put it.
with inflation, we know that our buying dollar is gonna go down, but with Mr. Erickson does a lot of the work himself, which does save us money as a district. We don't contract out as many things. And so there's a lot of good things that way.
Well, and the other disadvantage to the district of that is in our resolution. There's very specific language we can't put in there. I don't think we can put in there that this is a renewal. So unless they're educated before they come to the polls, they won't know that it's a renewal, and they could perceive it as a brand new one.
Yeah.
So educating is paramount.
I can see that.
And that couldn't be more factual that it's a renewal.
It's a factual statement.
Right.
It's a renewal.
Okay.
That's why in this, I did like I said, I put excuse me, which one am I on? This one here, where I do have the required by Idaho Code Section 34.914, that's the information that's required. And so, anyway, good questions. I don't know. If there's any other questions you can ask before.
I had a question on the supplemental, and maybe we've answered this before. Can we do that in like a 10-year span, or does it have to be every 2?
I need to look this up. I'm not 100% sure, but there are after a certain amount of times, there's ways that you might be able to extend it, but I think it's,
You'd have to be asking for a high enough amount
yeah.
each year. It's actually a really difficult thing to do, and I think only one district in the state is doing that right
And if I believe Coeur d'Alene tried that a couple of years ago, or a couple elections ago, and it failed. And it might have been that because it's been on the books for like 30 years, they were hoping to say, hey, can we just make this permanent? Is what they were hoping to do. And then when people heard, oh, make it permanent, even though they've done it for 30 years, I think it failed after that happened. And, but really, if they would have just made it permanent, it would have saved the district probably, I don't know, a big district like that, but it probably would have saved them thousands and thousands of dollars of legal fees, because this will cost us a couple $1,000s to get it reviewed and renewed and have lawyers look at it. And then the elections, you think of all the money that goes into the elections,
Mhm.
so it could have saved the taxpayers a lot others, but it's tricky. So that's why the supplemental levies are 2 years. It seems like we always talk about it every year and a half,
Yeah,
because we do.
no, I just wondered where the plan was a 10-year, if you couldn't extend that time.
That's a
frame
good
just little
question.
bit.
I wish.
Any other questions? Not, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the plant facility levy resolution for the amount of $300,000 for an election to be held on November 5th, 2024.
Madam Chair, I so moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Those in favor?
Right.
Any opposed? My motion passes. Okay, special services MOUs.
We have a couple of MOUs, let's pull up that action here. So these were ones we did not have ready during the summer when we voted on contracts, and so we do have some MOUs for the 24-25 school year for special services. So our school psychologist that we are in contract now with, Kayla Esplin, we're grateful for her to continue to work with us. Rexburg Rehabilitation and a new SOP, Alex Venturia, are ones that we are looking to. The other one is the nurse grant. And so Clark County and West Jefferson, I've mentioned this before to the school board that we were approved for that.
Can you please clarify what SLP stands for?
SLP stands for Speech and Language Pathology. So these are all for special services, our special education department. With the nurse memorandum. So this is a memorandum of understanding between Clark County and West Jefferson. This is where we went in together on this grant. And this just outlines the roles and responsibilities that for West Jefferson, we will submit to Clark County School District all the data sheets and everything they need to help with the grant reports, sign in timesheets for the hours for the nurse. This nurse has not been hired. We're gonna we are still collecting applications for it, and it will be a joint interview process with West Jefferson and Clark County on that. And so it basically, in a nutshell, Clark County will take care of all the payroll, and that paperwork will keep track of our timesheets and other things they need for the grant. And that's what the MOU is for us on that. Like I said, the MOUs for the special services are similar to where they were in years past. We just increase it by a little bit to help that.
So it's that nurse is not been found yet. We haven't got a nurse.
The nurse, we haven't interviewed, so we are still collecting applications. I'll be in contact with Superintendent Holden from Clark County, and we will put those interviews together probably next week.
Alrighty. Well, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the proposed 24-25 special services MOUs.
Madam Chair, I so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. Last action item, alternative authorization.
So we have 2 more employees that will require an alternative authorization. One is Jolene Thomas, an elementary education teacher, who's in Hamer right now. this authorization is just to help with an out of state. She worked in a different state in years past. But we've heard back from the State Department and we're on track. This is just one of the things that will need to be in place while she finishes a few of the Idaho requirements. The other would be for Mrs. Erickson. She has a teacher to new endorsement. The new endorsement will be in educational administration. So these are just, the board needs to be aware of this request, and then if the board does vote for these, then Mrs. DeGraw and I will go ahead and finish up the paperwork and send it to the State Department.
All right, there's no questions. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the alternate authorization for 24-25. Those two employees. Is
Madam Chair, so moved.
there a second?
I second that.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. Couple of informational discussion items. First, the continuous improvement plan, the district goals.
Okay, well, I'll start with that, and if we could jump back to the superintendent report,
Oh, yes,
do that.
I moved you to 5-3. Would you rather?
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me, doesn't matter to me. Again, this is just an opportunity for the board to give feedback. Between now and the next, board meeting, I'll be working on the updating the 24-25. This was our last year's one. I know that there's been some things that I might want to change here on this first page. Just to reflect more clearly what we've done with our professional learning communities. Is the board still happy with our mission statement?
Love it.
Like I said, it's just up for discussion, when we have our different goals, the quality teaching and learning, fiscal responsibility, school environment, safety, community relations. Maybe I can put something, with quality teaching, so some of our strategies for that goal, quality classroom instruction and student engagement. I know this is something that elementary, with their two new curriculums that they're working with, that we'll continue to work on. Attract, recruit, and train employees. And we just talked about our supplemental levy, that's one way to do it. Our professional learning community. Explore, expand standards-based, mastery-based learning. I might want to change this one up just a little bit with some of the things that we've been learning with standards-based and mastery-based. We've done really well, like pushing this forward. Our teachers have been working really hard. Some of the things that we're learning, and that standards are so important for our teachers to know, and we're gonna be talking about that in our PLCs. And with the new coalition, and I kind of have this in my superintendent report as well. We're gonna have specific things for those teachers to work on every time that they have a professional development day, pertaining to like standards and how to help with assessing that and things like that. So the new curriculum definitely is going to help at the elementary level. With the fiscal responsibility, is there anything else? I think I know that Mrs. DeGraw, myself, and even Mrs. Hall have been attending to different trainings for the fiscal management. We will have our audit coming up. When is that, Mrs. DeGraw? Is that not next week, but the week after?
The week of September 9th.
The week of September 9th, we will have our financial audit. So the board members can be ready. We'll probably have the commenter again. You're the one that, these guys love sending you to the audit meeting.
Oh, they do.
Ensure transparency of finances. We, with the meetings that people can access, but also everything's on board docs. All of our finances are very easy to find. All of the payroll, all the accounts, all of the accounts payable, everything is here. Aligning resources with the district goals, develop a plan for the futures. We've been working on that right now with our plant facility supplemental, school environment and safety. This is one area that Mr. Erickson and I need to revisit. We kind of got sidetracked with a lot of the projects trying to get school started. But he and I will need to sit down in this next month and go over the 10-year plan to finish it up and submit to the state. So we are eligible for the 521 money. So we'll have that in place. The different safety procedures. This is something that I have worked with the teachers, but I've got a question for the board. So right now we do procedures, lockdown, I'll check, evacuation. We talk about move, secure, defend. These are all different types of trainings when it comes to safety in the schools. I know that this language is similar to, and I think the acronym for the Idaho School Safety, I can't remember what that acronym, the ISCRS acronym is, but that comes from the State Department website. I know that Jefferson School District, and this is who I train with, as with the deputies. They use a system or an acronym called ALICE. It's really similar to this. And so like with move, secure, defend, if an announcement came out at the school, basically the teachers are taught to, I need to move to safety, secure the area, or last, defend myself on that. And so those are different things that are taught. The acronym that the Jefferson School District uses is called ALICE, and it's alert, lockdown. So the first one is an alert goes out. The second one is lockdown. Stands for inform. C stands for conceal, and E stands for evacuate. And so they're similar to these things, but I don't know if that's something that throughout the year, if that's something that maybe we want to make similar, where we do share the same department with from the sheriff's department, but that's something that maybe you guys can think about over the next couple of weeks, and we can decide if we want to maybe make a goal to say, let's start training towards this. We can put it as a goal and do that. And I can go either way. I've looked at this, but it'll give you guys something to give feedback to drive the goals. Other some of the strategies: foster welcome environment, mental health support and awareness for students, staff, community members. I think we're doing the best we can with those. Multiple ways to communicate with parents. I believe since we started this that we have improved our social media efforts. I know Mrs. Hall does a really good job with that. We have our different apps that are available, different things. And so if there's anything else we want to add, you can send me a note or make a comment now. But those are the different areas if you want something specific you want us to work on that. So that's all I wanted to bring up. Any comments or questions now?
All right, next we have the fresh fruit and vegetable program.
We have received the fresh fruit and vegetable program again. I would thank Mrs. Ward for all of her efforts in applying for these grants. Approximately Hamer Elementary gets approximately $3,000, and the Tarleton campus gets approximately $18,000. So that's money that they'll be able to have. The afternoon snack time is all done through the fresh fruit and vegetable program. So the kids have access to fresh fruit or vegetables. Sometimes they like to try, like part of it is that they will have new things for them to experiment with and try. Some of them are very popular and some of them are not at all. And so, but it's good. It's good because the kids will have that chance to do that.
Okay, thank you for that. And finally, superintendent report.
Okay. Might be better to put this at the end all the time. Because then you guys will be like, all right, the only thing before this and ending the meeting is be quiet, superintendent. If you wanna, just as part of the report, school board was in attendance at the back to school meeting. Thank you guys for coming to that. Everybody's schedule worked out that all of us were there this time. I think that's great. I know that there's sometimes family things come up and we can't all be there, but thank you. It was great to have you all there. And Tyson, great job on that address. Thank you. Tyson, Mr. Burnshaw gave a great welcome back, just in summary, talking about how the school has helped his kids out, and sometimes we recognize that school's not easy for everybody. Like but we do our very best to try to help with those supports. And so I thought it was very motivational for the teachers to know that they're making a difference. And so thank you for giving us that address. As a superintendent, I reviewed the cell phone procedures for our staff. I can report to you that I've talked with my administration to make sure that stays as an important part. I know sometimes after the first week, sometimes you think, oh, it's all gonna be gone, and it's not, and again, it's not gonna be perfect because there's so many different things, but from what I'm hearing is mostly positive. I'm hearing that the teachers, students, for the most part, are doing okay without them. There's a few things that I have asked my administrators to go back and follow up on, and so if things do come up, I'm serious about this. We have to limit the distractions in class with them.
That's easier than I thought it would be.
Well, you never know, because sometimes opposition comes at different time, but it was there wasn't like huge opposition before. But again, it's one of those things that I know that it's hard when we get into patterns of different ways to do things. I think this will help really teach self-control, help us focus in. I really do. I don't know, you guys have heard anything differently. I'm sure that there's been both pros and cons with it, but I have followed up with administration on the things that I've heard that might need to be looked into, and we'll do that.
Great.
I touched on this during the continuous improvement plan with our professional development, the guiding coalition. So that's with the professional development grant that we have. The guiding coalition is the group of high school teachers and administrator and the elementary teachers and administrators that went to the conference. We met on August 14th. We just set our meeting schedule for the year, talked about goals and action plans for both the elementary and high school, talking about the 4 PLC questions, where to focus in on that. So that is going to continue throughout the year. Other professional development things that I didn't mention, I know Mrs. Bell with the math, she'll continue with the math professional development, and we'll also have professional development that continues with the new curriculums in the elementary school. Fall sports, we had the combined parent meeting last night. This was the first time since I've been superintendent that we held it all together in the auditorium for fall sports. So you had your football, your volleyball, your cross country, cheerleading came for the first part. And then we broke off into the different groups. As superintendent, I did do a sports message. That sports message, just so the board is aware of some of the things that I shared. We just talked about, again, the whole purpose of our mission statement at the school. Highlighted, because we are a small school, kids do have opportunities to be in a lot of things that maybe they wouldn't. And we even use like bigger districts like the Jefferson District and Rigby. Maybe our kids wouldn't have the same type of opportunities there. But again, it's one of those things that just because we're here, we still have to recognize the importance of what athletics or clubs, what really their role. And I asked the question, well, why high school athletics? Why participate? And a lot of people will say, well, for real life experiences. And this is where I wanted to highlight to say, okay, so if we're really gonna take advantage of this, and you think of the time, I am volunteering right now to help out with the high school football. And it's a lot of time. I'm thinking, oh man, I should probably be in there preparing board meeting a little bit more. And I know that like Tyson, you're volunteering for Great Kid. There's a lot of time that goes into it. And Andrea, I know that you chase like your kids around all over. Tennessee, the same thing with the rodeo and the clubs and the activities. Like we think about this, like, well, why do we do that? Well, we're hoping that they can learn some real life experiences. Something that will help them be better people when they grow up. And so I shared this slide here. This is on the left-hand side. So in a team sport, you might be a role player. Not everybody's going to be the star, but it's also the same thing like employee, employer. Not everybody is going to be the boss. Not everybody has the same role in a job. And what is your contribution to a job? Maybe a role player is somebody that helps out at practice more. And they might not see the the field or the game time, but they are contributing to the overall, just like maybe some people behind the scenes help me get some of this stuff ready for board meeting or for different things. Like, there's so many different things that you look at that. And you can see, I'm not gonna go over all of them, but I touched on like, promotions are not equal. Playing time is not equal. That's a real life thing. Discipline, hard work, grades, conditioning, success and defeat. You know, we have successes here at West Jefferson, we have defeats sometimes with different things. How are we going to handle that? What's our character development? Will you work for different employers in life? Yeah, you will. Coaching styles, you're gonna be different coaches. Adversity, it never goes away. We face that all the time. Every time we're doing something, how are we gonna do it? Are we gonna be bitter? Are we gonna get better from it? And I think this was, you know, the audience, they weren't throwing tomatoes at me or anything. But I think it was good. I think parents, I think we recognize this, but sometimes we don't know our attitudes if they really are doing this. And I just wanted to share with them, please, let's not, like, we're investing so much time, money, everything. Don't miss this opportunity to use it for what it really is. And then I asked, well, why participate again? People say, well, we like to build relationships. Those are the things that we really love because of the teammates. But we all know that there's good and bad with this, because I've also heard horror stories of, man, those kids were really mean to me, or I just didn't fit in, or, you know, and it goes both ways. And you're thinking, okay, so if we're really gonna help people build relationships, then we as the coaches, the parents, and even the kids need to model better relationship interactions. And so I shared with them a study, basically it's from the Gottman's 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, and it's basically relationship killers. These are 4 things, they call them the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse because they kill relationships. Criticism and contempt, those are the first 2. So if I'm a coach and I'm attacking personality, oh, the kids are just lazy and you're, you know, that's not teaching. You know, coaches need to say, hey, I feel like I can see you do a little bit better. There's different ways to approach that. But also that criticism can sometimes go from parents to coaches or parents to other players that aren't your own child out there. And they're just looking for anything critical. They're not doing this. They're not working hard. They're not doing this. They're not playing my kid enough. That is going to kill the relationship opportunity that sports will bring for us, but it will also hurt the team if players are doing it towards each other. Contempt is said to be the most fatal, and this is like insult, moral superiority. Well, I'm better than you because I'm wearing the Nikes, you know, things like that. Sarcasm, mockery, cynicism, name calling, hostile humor. A lot of this reminds me of the old school Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer movie, you know, where Santa Claus and the reindeer coach, oh my gosh, it was all sarcasm and moral superiority and cynicism. It was almost like 40 years ago, you know, this was the norm. This is like, oh, this is how we're going to teach people to be tough. But people aren't going to stay in a relationship or want to be in a relationship if that's happening all the time. And so, and that might be hard for some of the kids. I'm not saying that they're gonna be perfect just because we talked about it once, but if they really want to see success in building a team, they should be careful about being sarcastic with their teammates. Coaches should be careful about being sarcastic with kids. That type of thing, the hostile humor, oh, they're just, kids are being kids in the locker room, let them tease each other. No, those things will kill relationships. And that's why I wanted to bring this up. Like we don't want to waste all the time and effort. The last 2 that they have on this are defensiveness, playing the victim. Now, this is one that can really happen a lot in sports. The coach just doesn't like me. They only play their favorites. Coaches could say, well, the parents just all hate me. School doesn't give me anything. I'm the victim. You know, that's just not healthy with it, when really we should accept responsibility. That's what the little dot is here, as how to counteract that. And so sometimes you, or I say you, I said all of us as parents, we really should be proactive on how we talk to our kids about this experience. I guess I can brag about my own kids a little bit because I can, I'm a dad slash. So my boy that's in junior high was trying out for the play, and this is not athletics. And he kept saying, Dad, do you think I have a chance to get Olaf? And I'm like, I'm trying to be like supportive, but honest with him. And I can see that I'm like, I gotta balance this because I don't think that's the best place. If I was the drama director, I don't think I would put him there. I don't think he's strong enough as a senior. He's just a seventh grader. He doesn't have as much experience as some of the eighth graders. But he wanted to keep playing. So I was saying, well, let me work with you. Let's practice this stuff. So I practiced with him as a parent. But I also said, but don't you think the coach or the director will put you where you need to be? I'm like, everybody else has some strong stuff. And I talked about a couple other kids that I know are in the junior high, and I'm like, these kids have this strength, these kids have this strength, you have this strength, and I think you can develop it. So I was trying to give him as much encouragement as possible. And then my wife overheard him the other day when some of the kids were talking and saying, hey, what role do you want to get? What role do you want to get? And he says, oh, whatever role the coach gives me. And so I don't know. And so I was like, well, that's good. He's listening. I hope he means that. But that's one of the things that we can't play the victim. We can't play the victim of, well, the coach only puts his kid at quarterback, or the coach only does this. On one hand, it's one of those things that none of us are perfect. Coaches aren't perfect, but parents aren't perfect. But we can all just sit back and try to say, how can we do better? And I know I've made mistakes. That's one of the things that I hope people didn't ever think I was up there just saying I'm holier than thou because I'm doing this. But I've made mistakes, but I can learn from them. And then stonewalling is the last one, withdrawing from this, choosing not to respond, disengaging. If you have players doing that to each other, if you have coaching staff members, like there's times our coaches, they're passionate, and maybe there's times they're going to disagree with each other, but it's not healthy to be like, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. You look at all four of these things, if our kids can learn how to improve in a little bit of these, in life, the real world experiences that they're going to have when they have interactions, they'll be better off. So that's what I'm hoping for. I can keep talking about this, and then I just said, good luck, go Panthers. I did talk about sportsmanship briefly, but I do feel like we've done a little bit better. I know it's not perfect, but I think we've done better as a community, and I thank our community for that. And the main point on that was please, as adults, do not take the glory away from the kids. We don't want people leaving that game forgetting about what the kids did and only remembering what the adults did in the stands. And sadly, I've been at an event for West Jefferson where our team came out victorious in a last second awesome moment. But the only thing people could remember were the actions of the adults during the game. And they don't remember the feel of the last second victory that West Jefferson had. They only can look back and say, those adults were crazy. And that's sad because what we just did is we took the whole purpose of sports away from those kids. That should have just been on those kids and not on us as the adults in the stands. And so that was I thought it went well last night. We had a really good turnout. Of course, it wasn't 100%, but it was pretty good. Anybody have any questions on that message before I move on to the others or comments? Okay.
Shots by the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You excuse them? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Burnshaw.
Thank you.
See ya. School reports going on enrollment. We're down to a few students, partly because we had graduated the class of 50, kindergarten class is about 39 coming in. If we're looking at approximate numbers, it's about 4 to 5 students less than last year. So we're close, but that's kind of where we're at. Department reports, Mrs. Hicks, I say Hicks, I should say Hicks. That's gonna be, she'll probably like that. I should like that. I'm gonna give her a new name. Mrs. Kicks. She, reported on the transportation report. Mr. Rain has been doing a good job of keeping things going. Lisa Ward, I talked about the fresh fruit and vegetable. She did let me know also that, she'll keep working on the different reports coming up. Maintenance would be the last one. I do appreciate Mr. Erickson. We did have all of our buildings ready to roll. Do you have a question?
Just for Lisa, she's in the process of applying for a $100,000 grant right now.
What?
For what?
To be able to bring in fresher food.
Bring in
Fresher,
what?
fresher food to try to,
Fresher food.
and she was mentioning to me that they're hoping to move away from the store-bought boxed items to be more to do scratch cooking. And so that's something that pendulum's starting to swing. I know with the different committees and boards that she's been on, she's been able to help influence that at the state level. Going back to Mr. Erickson, then just grateful for him. We did get school started. We were able to go. Just a report on the well here at Territon. We did send out that text message to everybody. And also to put on social media that our wells were cleared before school started. That was something that Mr. Erickson, with some help of Ted Goodyear and others in the community, had to problem solve a lot. As you can see up on the map, that our pump house is about right here where my mouse is at. And that feeds into every single building here at the school.
So was that what the problem was?
So what was happening is they were taking samples in each of the different buildings. And it was coming out with a positive for the contaminant. And when they looked at that initially, because there was also a spigot at the well was coming out as clean, but the others were coming out as contaminated with coliform. And so is it coliform or chloroform?
Coliform.
Coliform.
Chloroform is what they use to knock people out.
Okay, so
Not to be mistaken.
coliform, not to be mistaken. So the coliform was being detected in the other buildings. Well, as we looked at that, they went through, they tested and tried some of the chlorine cleaning and things like that. But what was happening is there was still something that was coming up. And so one time when we had all the stuff shut off, there was some still pressure coming. And so that got Mr. Erickson thinking, why do I still have pressure coming? And he's thinking, there's gotta be a crack or something in one of the pipes or something down in, and I don't understand it. I'm just trying to give you the Cliff Notes version of it. But that got him thinking, maybe there's some cracking and rust or something down in the piping in the well. And then that made sense because, hold on, coliform,
Yes.
all right. Some of the items that can come from rust. And so what's happening is the well where we tested, the rust wasn't getting picked up because it was coming out so fast there that came back clean. But then as it passed through the main place and then followed the thousands and thousands of feet of pipe, then it was coming up as coliform. So he thought, well, let's pull this well out and the pump out, the pump and the pipes. So they pulled that out, put new ones in, and they did see that one of those pipes was cracked and corroded. And so that was the issue. And so by putting the new pipe, and then they went ahead and put a new pump down in at that time, since they had it pulled. They've come back clean since
And
then.
we've had clean water since school started.
Yeah,
So
since
if you
before
have that
school
in your water, does it make you sick?
Well,
Not with rust. What coliform is it's not actually a microorganism itself. It's an indicator that there are some sort of microorganisms or some sort of thing that's off in the water. And so when we figured out it's the rust isn't gonna hurt you, but it's not very good for you either, like.
yeah. So the initial test that back in July, there was coliform and then there was one of E. coli. But we went and looked at it and said, well, where did you pull that test from? And the E. coli was from the janitor's closet. And so we suspected that was just a secondary contaminant from, a mop that was cleaning the bathrooms, because we did not get a second E. coli hit anywhere. And so that was scary when we first saw the E. coli one. And so, but then, once you have that first hit, we have to make sure that we get clean from the coliform after that, but you're right, coliform will not, in itself wouldn't, but it's a precursor to saying something, that's why it's kind of like the safety saying, hey, set indicators.
Coli does make you sick.
E. coli would,
Yes.
yeah, E. coli would. And that was the issue with the well last year on the other campus.
Okay.
So just appreciative of him, a couple other big projects that he's still working on. We're getting some drain systems set in along the high school and also here by the elementary. There's some different cement work and sidewalk work that he's working on. Again, all of the fields were finished this year with the
Underground.
underground sprinkler system. However, we are curtailed just like the farmers are right now, so we're watering. There's some of the grass is not gonna look great, but it's the same thing. We're gonna be on a curtailment without water. And then he will be working on expanding this parking lot area. You can see this is the area that comes out from the Panther Den, and it will come probably out to here. Just so we have better parking around the football field and sports areas. So that's gonna be one area that he'll start working on.
Mr. Williams, just a note about the concrete work and stuff. That has been delayed due to some of those rainstorms that came in. And so the plan was to have those kinds of things finished earlier. And we would have been able to, except for those rainstorms that came through.
So now when do you do them? Now you have to wait.
So they poured.
They poured, is it yesterday?
So they can go ahead and do it while
Evening?
school's on.
Yeah.
So they do it in the afternoon.
Oh, I
Once
see.
everybody's done, so sometimes the maintenance guys will leave for the afternoon, like between lunch and when they come back. And so they
Okay.
did about half of the concrete out here by the high school.
I see.
Yes, so it's been, part of it's like the weather hasn't cooperated, but we're back in school, kids are going to their classes, we're on time with everything else. But it is important to know that, a lot of these, if we would have contracted them out, would have cost tens of thousands of dollars extra that would have just gone into the other companies, and so, with the project that's right here by the boardroom, that's one that probably would have cost $80,000 by the time you have all of it, maybe even more. But we'll probably do it with our own cost with just the salaries of our employees, plus maybe $8,000.
Between equipment that was rented and.
With the equipment that was rented, and so there's a lot of, when you look at these projects, a lot of it's gonna be saving money overall, but also helping us get a lot of things done.
That was part of the board money, wasn't it?
Which one?
Like sidewalks and things that.
Yeah, that's part of the plan.
It's plant facility,
Oh,
not
plant
bond.
facility,
Plant
I thought it was
facility.
for,
Bond,
Bond.
it could be bond, but we're saving the bond for
Okay,
the track.
okay,
So where that bond money, where we talked last board meeting, or July's board meeting,
yeah.
that can be held on. So, okay, any other questions on the facilities or anything?
All right, we need to talk about a special work meeting.
Do we need one?
I don't think we do. We just leave that on there if something occurs within the meeting to,
To create one?
yeah,
Super. So our September meeting is.
The 19th.
Yep.
Does anybody have any cross-country runners in?
I am going to be in Hawaii until the Tuesday,
So you'll be back?
so I'll be back for 2 days.
Yay.
But so if you have a special meeting, I'll miss it
Okay.
because I'm leaving the last of
Can you deliver some like pineapple or anything?
well, no, you
yes,
can't
ma'am.
take that on the airplane.
You can't?
Yes,
I don't
you
think
can.
so.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
You
you
can have a
can, we
shed.
just
Oh,
have
you
to,
can.
they store it for you. But it takes 5 days to get back, so it's not really fresh by the time.
Get
So
a green one, get a really green one.
I'm wrong about that, it's Never mind, it's September when we leave.
Oh, is it?
The
Okay.
29th and come back. the 15th.
Oh, September 29th.
I
Okay,
knew it was the 17th.
okay.
Okay, so that's not coming up,
So nobody has a cross-country runner?
never mind.
19th, and then Madam Chair, the ISBA conference, convention is in Boise again this year.
Yes, and I need to know, fairly soon if people would like to attend. Chris, I've already been in contact with the ISBA to make sure we can get you a room with accommodations.
Well, just let Mrs. DeGraw know that. And if there's no further business, we'll be open for a motion to adjourn.
Cherry someone.
Is there a second?
That's it.
Those in favor?
Hi.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We're adjourned. Thank you.